Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 451. This is a Yank on the Footy coming to you from Sandusky, Ohio. And we are going to be jumping into the second round tips. And I am thrilled to be joined by my mate, Myk Aussie, coming to us from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Myk, how you doing today, sir?
We're the pride of South Australia, the mighty Adelaide Crows. That'll do. My singing's not my strong point, but damn, it was good to beat those dobbing, swooping bastards at the MCG. And finally, they weren't favoured by the umpires. Great win. Very, very happy.
Yeah, and I guess I have to ask you about this because we may be seeing something that's going to be happening about as frequently as Halley's Comet comes around and skirts around the Earth. We may very likely see a Scott Pendlebury suspension after the game.
Wow, I didn't pick that up. I watched the whole game last night. God, he's a beautiful footballer, isn't he?
Yeah,
Even though I don't like those dobbing, swooping bastards, he's a fantastic footballer. Beat Michael Tuck's record last night. Yeah, absolute class act.
yeah, because I guess the hit that he had on Josh Worrell, he's been given a 1 game suspension, and this if that happens, it's the first suspension in his entire career. Now, I can't
Wow.
I can't think that you know he's not a protected species, is he? I mean, yes, I know he plays for the Magpies, so that's already kind of a given that he would be. But I offered an alternative in one of the notes on one of the articles on Code Sports. I said, well, maybe they could go ahead and the tribunal says, well, go ahead and we'll suspend the suspension, we'll get rid of it, but the Pies have to go play their round 9 game with the Cats in Geelong, so he can actually see what Geelong looks like before he retires. And it was
Yeah,
intended
it's
as
not.
satire, but
Yeah, it's unreal how many games they play at the MCG. And if I reckon if he was one of those players that sat down with Quaynor after the game when apparently Isaac Rankin did that homophobic slur. I reckon Scott Pendlebury might have said, boys, let's forget it because he's old school. None of this woke rubbish. But I blame the AFL as well. You know that
yeah.
pathetic. I'm so mad. That whole thing pissed me off more than anything to do with Nick Kyrgios, the tennis player, and that takes a lot, mate.
Hmm. Yeah, so that's I know this has been something that has been a a rock in your shoe since the end of 2025's fixture because it's carried over into this week, and Isaac Rankin is finally going to be able to play this week. And I'm assuming that he'll be in the best 23 for the Crows this week, I would imagine.
Oh, he's our equal best player with Jordan Dawson. But real quick, I did a video this week, got good reaction. Now, I don't want to talk other sports, but I'm going to compare what happened with the Isaac Rankin issue compared to if it happened to any NFL team. I'm sure this would have happened out of 32 owners, and I use Jerry Jones as an example. If Jerry Jones heard about this straight away, now it would have had to have happened straight away. Jerry Jones would have called Isaac into his office and said, Isaac, you didn't say anything, did you? There was no audio. You didn't say anything, or you called him a maggot. So that's it. Deny, deny, deny. No audio. Issue crushed. And that's it. But of course, with the woke AFL, we went and saw what happened. And I'm very strong on that point. Sticks and stones will break your bones and names will never hurt you. That's what I grew up with. Well, that's false now because calling names can hurt you. Thus, a ridiculous 4 game suspension to Isaac Rankin. Yes, he shouldn't have said what he did, but still over the top woke bullshit by the AFL led by Dylan.
Yeah, and we talked about this, in a discussion this past week about all this that had been going on because we knew they were playing the Magpies coming up. And I asked you a hypothetical, about whether, had Isaac Rankin, if he said what he said, and I can't say whether he did or not, and if he had used that 4-letter C word that has had a history of being tossed around in Australia, kind of like, people will toss a frisbee on the beach, would he have been okay had he said that? And you
What
said you thought he'd be okay with that.
I was saying to Andrea last night, next you're going to get in trouble for saying someone's got a big nose or they smell. Like,
Oh.
Yeah, you would get away with saying "see you next Tuesday" or T-Nuck, we call it, spelt backwards. You get
Yeah.
away with it, but it's the homophobic and the racial and the political stuff they really don't like. But I'm not going to say what he said, but it sounds like maggot. There we go.
Yes, I know. And it's and I haven't seen this yet, but have you are much more in tune with what goes on with the Crows because that's your club. But has there been any kind of reaction that you have seen where people are saying, well, that's kind of the Adelaide way after Taylor Walker's incident that he had a while back? And is that something? Is there a mindset that people are having now about the Crows? Well, that's the Crows mentality or anything like that.
Oh no, I don't think so.
Good.
Look, let's move on. But Taylor Walker, sure, he shouldn't have said what he said either. But then that guy shouldn't have dobbed him in either. He should have lined him up and said, "Mate, don't say that." And Taylor would have apologized. End of story.
Yeah.
This woke modern day world drives me nuts, mate. And you know it, and I know it, and it's Melbourne is the. I've said it before. Melbourne needs to smarten up because we laugh at Melbourne media and the wokeness coming out of that city, and it's moved into Adelaide to some level. But let's move on, eh?
Okay. So and I've not been to an AFL game yet. And I just want to ask you this, but I know that like at NFL games, and I don't know if the CFL does this, but you see the guys on the sidelines that have those big, like they look like a wok that they're holding, that clear wok that's like a parabolic microphone that kind of picks up the noise from the field. Are there any of those that are around a footy field? I don't recall ever seeing those, along the boundary or anything like that to kind of pick up the discussion or the things that are being said on the ground. I don't know how well it would work because the ground is just so massive anyway.
Yeah, nah, we no, we really don't ever hear anything the players say. Just as well, because then everyone would be suspended with the stupid woke rules by the AFL.
Well, you know how I feel about the best and fairest with regards to the Brownlow, thinking that they're going to have to change the rules on that eventually, and just you get a game suspension, then you lose out the opportunity to get the votes for that, and maybe you get that one vote stripped away from you for that suspension, and you're still in contention for it then. But
Yeah.
because someday we're going to have a guy with 3 games that's going to get a Brownlow award in theory. So so you know. I was going to ask you then, what's got you fired? Is there anything else that's got you fired up? Because I know this has been, like I said, this has been something you've been pissed off about for the last 6 months. Is anything
Oh, I
that,
got lots. I got a list here.
okay.
My videos this week. What really, really pisses me off? Well, I got a couple of new ones. I'll go for the Isaac Rankin Quaynor thing. I can't get over that still. Oh, mouth guards in their socks. I see they're still doing that a lot, and that's maybe why they're missing goals. Wasn't the set shot for goals absolutely disgraceful last night in the 2 games? I couldn't believe it how bad they are at kicking goals straight in front. Other than Fogarty, even though I don't rate him much, he is a beautiful kick for goal. Why don't they practice more goal kicking? That drives me nuts. The Zach Merritt thing the media talked about last week, I shouldn't bring it up because now I'm talking about it myself. I didn't think that was going to be an issue of being booed. He's given 10 or so years great service to the Bombers. Most of the players would have said, yeah, no worries, mate. It's okay. I probably
Yeah.
don't blame you for leaving. And haircuts. Oh my God, what about some brutal, terrible haircuts last night? I got to put Darcy Byrne-Jones as the worst. Well, they shave just above their ear now and then, that's it. And then I looked, a lot of the other Power Pap Smears players had similar stupid haircuts, mate. Well, they think they're trendy. It's ridiculous. I'd rather have no hair like you than their stupid haircuts.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, I actually have all of my hair. I just choose to cut it off because this way I don't have to tell my students and point out the individual gray hair that they gave me. So,
All right, there's a few that got me
yeah.
going. I've got more later if you want.
And one of the other things that I wanted to kind of get into was, along with this was just looking at some reactions to some of the games that took place this week. And I was searching around on X, which we won't get into why you're not doing that right now, but hopefully you will be again soon. But I saw one, the AFL posted, a line from Ross Lyon's press conference where he said, the reality is we could be 2-0, maybe 1-1. And somebody responded, no, the reality is you're 0-2. Which, and that's the Saints, and I'm guilty of this also, built, and again, it's only 2 rounds, but well, technically 1 round in the opening round, but the Saints were kind of the media darlings, that they brought in Silvani and DeConing and Liam Ryan, and they've Wanganiam Malera is there, and that this is going to be the club that's going to leapfrog themselves into the finals, and they sure as hell haven't played like it as of yet.
Look at history. They've been terrible in the VFL forever. Well, they made 1 or 2 grand finals in the AFL.
Yeah.
No, I had very little interest watching the Demons and the Saints last night after the Roos
Yeah.
Papspear game, but I wish Wangareen Miller were good. He's a beautiful
Well,
footballer.
you mentioned the poor set shots, and there's one person right now in Melbourne who's happy that you didn't watch their game, and that's Tom Lynch, who just had two goals, 7, and I he reminded me of the character from that movie Best in Show, the guy that had 2 left feet, because it just everything kept
Yeah.
going where he didn't want it. But I saw one other thing online, and I know we tend to sledge on players and that sort of thing, and well, I don't necessarily because I've never had the skill set to be a premier athlete. I'm shaped more like the ball than anything else, but I did see somebody who commented after a poor kick from Tom Cole from West Coast that said that there's no combination of words to accurately describe the stupidity required to select Tom Cole to play a game of AFL football for your club. Now,
Wow.
I I'm not begrudging a player's skill set because there's only so many spots on lists in the AFL. And yes, there may be a player that's playing in the Sample or the Waffle who's not found their way into the AFL that might be a better player than some people on an AFL list, but there aren't going to be a whole lot of them because the scouts are going to find those players. And this guy's played 131 games in his career. So he's evidently done things well enough to warrant being on that list, since I think 2017 or 20, yeah, right before they won the grand final in 2018. So I mean, I'm just thinking, if you want to question anybody, question the Eagles list management for not finding
Yeah.
enough decent players to fill out a roster.
Yeah, I'm gonna disagree with you. Like we talked last year, and Paul Roos agreed absolutely that. I mean, look at North Melbourne. Sure, they got 7 or 8 key players, but they've
Hmm.
just been full of kids, and they draft these kids at 17, 18,
Yeah.
and there's too many players getting an AFL game at 19. When, like we've said, you're better off. There's probably 50 good players around Australia that are better than 50 in the AFL. But the list managers, they don't want to take a risk on a 25-year-old or 26-year-old. Instead, they'd take the risk that this 19-year-old kid's going to be better. I mean, look at Sean Manor for the Geelong. There's an example, as we talked about. So, no, I disagree, and it's going to get even worse when Tasmania come in. Like, North Melbourne were terrible last year. Last night, there was still so many kids. Port
Hmm.
Adelaide, oh my God, not long ago, Rosie Butters and Horn Francis were the young kids. Now it's like they're the senior kids. They're going
Hmm.
to be very average this year, I reckon.
I think you might be right on that. Yeah. That you're not going to lose a moment's sleep about that, are you?
Oh, God. Actually, I've got to be a bit careful because a friend of mine in Brossa Valley, Annie, I need to ask her a favour soon, and she's a mad Pap Smears fan, so I
Yeah.
better not diss him too much.
Okay. Well, Annie, he's being as kind as he can be, and you've been a dear friend for many, many years. So
It's to
if
do
you
with another lady. It's to do with one of her friends, anyway.
okay, if you can
I
help
shouldn't have
out,
brought
he'd
that up.
he'd appreciate you helping out. And um, so anything else that you saw in the media that has got you fired up? Because I know you said you had a few things.
Oh, not really. I just I list. I don't want to promote anyone else's shows, but
Hmm.
the round zero, then round one. I mean, if I talk to my dog or a 7-year-old kid, I'd say, oh, there's round zero, then there's round one, and a 7-year-old kid will say, well, round zero should be round one, and then it should be round two. Like, where did that stupid brainwave idea come up from? Sure, play games in Sydney and Brisbane. Oh, but then they had to give Collingwood a game and make them more money with 90,000 there versus Saints or whatever. So, yeah, Mate, I don't care. I don't want to get you in trouble. I don't care about what people in Australia think or the AFL. And Andrew Jarman replied to me on Instagram, says, yeah, Mick, it's too woke. So he even agreed. But these guys have got jobs in the media, they get paid, they might be denied their media access, like we see here with the Oilers media. They got to be careful what they say. So I'll be outspoken, but I don't want to get sued. I don't want to get you in trouble. But I'm going to go hard when I can, mate.
You want to be, as a teacher I used to work with used to say, you want to be cutting edge, but not too close to the edge of the blade.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very well put, Mr. Football Yank.
Yeah, yeah. So, um, I saw one, and there was something else I wanted to mention. Completely had a brain fade there, but I wanted to add one. I did stay up and watch the Port Adelaide and North Melbourne game last night, and Jessica Webster, who's been a media person for well over a decade and a half, starting out up in the Northern Territories. I thought she did a phenomenal job calling the game last night. I thought she did a really good job because I know there are some people who dislike one announcer or another for various reasons. And I'm not going to mention the ones that get sledged on quite a bit because some people that are listening might have that person already in their mind or this other person that they don't like for one reason or another. But I thought she did a wonderful job calling the game. And I saw some radio call highlights that she done when she was working for the Triple M. I think she does. I think she works with Triple M also and does radio. But I think this was her first actual television game that she called during the regular fixture. Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't notice her good or bad, so that's probably a good thing. But
yeah,
I think Mark Howard was doing the Crows game. He's fantastic and he's
yeah. He
friendly,
is.
mate. These
He is.
guys that reply to me and friendly online on Instagram, they
Hmm.
get extra votes for me when I hear them because there's too many arrogant, big-headed pricks down
Yeah.
there.
Well, and the one thing I did want to ask you about when you mentioned the round zero and the round one, this is what I was going to ask you about. Did they keep it round one because it still is appeasing the Carltons and the Richmonds because that's been a traditional round one game? I mean, did they keep that in quote unquote round one because of that very reason? Is that why they haven't changed the name of it yet?
No, I just think there's too many people making lots of money at AFL House and they come up with stupid brainwave ideas, just like too many people in governments. They got to
Yeah.
make
Re-
themselves think
Relevant.
they're worthy when
Yeah.
they're not.
Yeah.
Stupid round zero, round
So
one. What? Like people must laugh at that shit.
so should we have round one actually be like the round zero and not have just the introductory 5 games like we did this year? Should we just dive in with both feet and get all 9 clubs playing? Because again, in a couple of years, one club's going to have that round off anyway because of the bye weeks, because we'll have an odd group of players or clubs because the Devils will be in the comp at that point in time. So it'll be 19 clubs.
Yeah, it's stupid. I mean, look, there's buys this week. I mean, ridiculous. And
Yeah.
I picked the Crows. You beat me by one this week. I beat you by one in stupid round zero. So we're even now, win, money line. But I picked the dobbin swooping bastard Magpies because they played the week before.
Hmm.
And after playing footy for years, the first week you're not quite right. You get better in the second week with your body, your skills, the pace of the game. That's the main reason I picked those Dobbin Magpies. And of course, I thought the crowd and the umpires would favour them in the MCG. So I got that wrong, and I'm so glad I did.
So did Justin Longmuir have it right then during his press conference where he was kind of lamenting the fact that the Cats and other clubs got to play a week ahead of them? Do you think he was correct then in saying that that it put his club as a disadvantage?
Yeah, like I just said,
Yeah.
absolutely. I
Okay.
think
Okay.
I know as a player, I'm going to feel better after week 2 or 3 or 4 than round one
Yeah.
because you wake up, you next Sunday morning, you get hits and you're sore. Your body kind of gets used to the hits of the game, and that takes a few weeks to get going. And then the second win comes, and your fitness, all that sort of thing. So sure, you might have a good game round one or round
Yeah.
stupid zero, but I reckon after 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, you should be pretty much spot on with your fitness and your skills and recovery.
Yeah. I think you're right there. That's true. So I got 7 out of 9 right last week. I got Richmond wrong, and you know what? I'm glad I got Richmond wrong because I tipped them because I thought they were going to be the better club. They were close again. If Tom Lynch just has a slightly better day, they've got the 4 points there. Michael Voss's seat is warm. I'm sure we'll be talking about him later on as the season goes along, and I think he's gonna be on a love seat with Ross Lyon, I think. Um, but you know, and I actually got I had tipped the Cats to win by 10, and what happened? The Cats won by 10.
Wow.
Um, I I almost feel like I'm, a Swami or something like that. Okay, it's pure luck, pure luck. But let's get into the games for this week. Again, we've got the Lions, the Blues, the Pies, and the Cats are all off this week, um, which means I've got a lot of work to do on my fantasy team because I've got a lot of Cats on my fantasy team. So Thursday night we've got the Hawks hosting the Swans at the MCG. What are you thinking on this one? I'm going with the Hawks to win this one at home by about 7 points.
All right, well, we've got a disagreement straight up. I'm real keen on the Swans this year. Hawks are favoured by 3.5, so basically a very close game. Gunston, 5 goals. He's still doing very well. And of course, Newcomb in the best players as well. No, I like the Swans to keep it going, but yeah, flip of the coin. Won't be betting
Yeah.
on that one. But I'll
Yeah, I was
take the
just
Swans to win and cover, and obviously on the plus.
yeah, and I was worried because I think Errol Golden's going to be out for a while because he did his shoulder right at
Oh,
the end of the Swans game this weekend, and he went off in a sling, and it didn't look good. So
Oh, and Heaney's got a hamstring, so is he a
I think
possibility as well?
I think that's a possibility. He may be out
All right,
too.
I'm
Yeah,
swapping
yeah.
my tip right now. I'll swap it. No, it's very early in the week. I will swap that to Hawks to win, but I'll keep the Swans to cover the 3.5.
There you go. Yeah, I think that's going to be it's going to be interesting to see what happens with those. Now they have not updated. I'm on Footy Wire. They've not updated the injury list, so neither one of them are on there as of yet because we're recording this on a Sunday evening, the Ides of March, which I actually broke my arm in the eighth grade on the Ides of March. That would have been like 40, 42, 43 years ago. I broke my arm. Okay. Now we have the Crows hosting the upstart Bulldogs at the Adelaide Oval. It's the Friday night game. I'm going to make you mad here, but I'm going with the Bulldogs to win this one by 9 on the
Well,
road.
they are favoured by 1.5, so basically a pick 'em. Look with the Dogs kick. They kicked 21 goals, 8. Now that is fantastic
Yeah.
goal kicking. Other players should be aware of that. Well, I'm going to be fighting with Lincoln and Django, my dogs at home this week because they're Western Bulldogs fans.
Yeah.
Look, the key for the Crows this year. I've written this down. Warrer was good, Miller was good, Thilthorpe was good, Archie was slow but came good, Neil Bullen was good. But this is the key, I think. 4 players need to step it up. All these players get fair bit of time on the ball. They've all probably played between 30 and 50 games now. Barry is a bit of a gun, bit of a bull. Pedler, Saligo, and Rochelle. There's 4 players I think
Hmm.
are the key to the Crows' success, whether they can really step it up. If those 4 players stay about the same or get worse, I worry that the Crows won't make it to the grand final.
Okay. So how do you think, how do you think that the midfield battle for this game is going to look? Because I know you've lamented for, a while that that's the one thing that the Crows are missing is like a really, a real banger in the midfield or midfield that can go in and get clearance, get center clearances pretty regularly. So how do you think they're going to
Oh,
match up against the Bulldogs midfield?
if we had Clayton Oliver and if he was clean and Petrarca, we went for both of those. If we
Hmm.
had one of those players, man, I'd be confident we could go all the way. Oh, Bond is good. Like I said, I think we're still a bit light on, and Jordan Dawson looked injured near the end of the game, so I've got to keep an eye out on that one.
Yeah, yeah. And the next game for this weekend is the Richmond Tigers hosting Gold Coast at the MCG because we know we don't want to send Dimma to Marvel because there's something that's at Marvel that scares him or something. I know, I'm kidding. Richmond's going to get a decent crowd there. The Tiger supporters are going to want to see their former senior coach there. I've got Gold Coast winning this one by 20. But I'm going to ask you a question about that after you give me your take on it.
Okay, well, my notes here, as we spoke earlier, Tom Lynch, 2 goals, 7. Not sure why the dobbing bastards didn't try and recruit him, the Magpies anyway. The Suns are favoured by 35.5. I initially thought Tigers might cover that, but my alien mate, ChatGTP said that Suns was his best pick of the week on the minus, so that's interesting.
Okay. So would you then consider it to be a win for the Tigers if they kept it to say within 25 points? Because again, this is a a really young side. I mean, there's some talented young players on this club that I think Richmond supporters have got to feel pretty good about where they are right now, and they've just got to wait till these kids get some more games in them.
Yeah, you're dead right. They've done well with their draft picks, and I think they're in a nice position, especially with Tassie Devils coming in.
Yeah.
They could set themselves up to, unfortunately, make a run at it in 3 or 4 years' time.
Yeah, I think they could, very easily could as well. Yep. And then we've got the GWS Giants heading back home to NG Stadium hosting St. Kilda and well, I'm going with GWS to win this one at home. And we're going to put the little Bunsen burner underneath Ross Lyons took us because I think his seat is going to start getting warm.
Yeah, look, I'll take the Giants, even though they got belted by the Dogs. They're pretty good at home, aren't they? They're
Yeah.
favoured by 11.5. I'll take them to beat the Saints, and at this stage, I'll take them to cover that 11.5 as well. But Ross Lyon, he'll probably make it a defensive, low-scoring battle if he can, and then hopefully get over the line by a few points in the end. But no, I'm a bit keen on the Giants this year when they get all their players back. Hogan and Stringer up forward, and Toby Green, of course, but Tom Green out is
Yeah,
a big blow.
that's a huge out for them. Yeah, but and you mentioned somebody before. I think it has been to me. I think it's going to be where, and I'm not ready to make this bold call quite yet. I don't. I think he's going to be one of their top two midfielders throughout the course of the year if he stays healthy in Clayton Oliver. I'm not ready to
Yes.
say he's going to be an all Australian contention, but I think being out of the footy bubble in Melbourne has to be a good thing for somebody who has gone through everything that he's gone through.
Well, I know you're not a betting man, but I did a show a couple of weeks ago, and Oliver is 67-1 to win the Brownlow, and that's equal with Cripps and Horn Francis and Taranto and
Hmm.
Holmes. So I was quite shocked at that, but hey, he had a real good first game, I heard. So hope he can get himself back to keeping off that, well, they call it nose beers, I think they call it. So I hope he's
Yeah.
doing well. I really
Yep.
do. Terrific player.
Yep.
Terrific player.
So then we've got Fremantle getting to play a home game against the Melbourne Demons, and I'll tell you what, I have caught a lot of flack from Demon supporters, in my ladder predictions this year, putting them 17th on the ladder. Uh, I thought you could have put like four or five clubs into the hat and picked them, between like 13 and 17, and you could have made a case for all of them. I'm going with Fremantle to win this one by about 15 points. It's a much more talented side. I think that Fremantle is going to get that bad taste of the Cats second half out of their system, and they're going to win this one. But I think Melbourne is going to maybe be more competitive than I thought they were.
Yeah, look, I know you'd be happy too. Your favourites were in the best players. Maya Check across from the Dobbers and
Hmm.
Cozzy Pickett. And of course, Max Gawn best again. Oh, look, the Dockers are favoured by 19.5. I thought 24, so I've got to take them on the minus. They should be good at home. Bolton kicked a couple of goals. I'm still waiting for him to get back to his form that he had at Richmond.
Yeah.
Tracy Sarong, Jackson, like they're looking good. I'll take the Dockers to win and cover that one.
Okay. I would agree with you on that one. Then we've got your second favorite club, Port Adelaide, hosting the Essendon Bombers in what Mick might actually say is the Who Gives a Shit Bowl. Uh, but I'm going with Port Adelaide to win this one. But I'm going to ask you a question after we get through the last game here. But I've got Port winning this one by about 3 goals.
Okay, well, you've picked them to cover because they are favourites by 15.5. I initially thought they might win by about a goal, so I've got to take the Bombers on the plus. But later in the week, I might change that plus minus because Bombers have got a lot out injured. They get some players back that
Yeah,
will change.
I think Kako should be
Yeah,
back.
Port look light on, but they will be way better at home. We know that.
Yeah, yeah, yep. And then the last game of the round, the Sunday afternoon game. And it's one that I want to make sure that I actually, hopefully, I can stay up to watch this one or get up to watch this one because I think it's going to be a fun club to watch this year. Is West Coast hosting North Melbourne? And we talked about North Melbourne a little bit ago, but I think North Melbourne is going to be a fun team to watch play this year. I think maybe this is where, um, if a football team or a football club can go through, metaphorically speaking, go through puberty, I think this might be the year that the Roos start to go through puberty and their voices start to get just a little bit deeper.
Well, when I was watching the game last night, I started to write down some players, and they kind of have 10 or so senior players now. Luke Parker, Zerha, Larkey, Sheasel, Simpkin, Daniel, Darling, and Davis Uniacke. So
Mhm.
there's 10, but if they get injuries, then they'll be light on. So they will be better, but over there, I think they will beat the Eagles just. They're favoured by 9.5. I thought by 18. So I'll tip them to win and cover. And Waterman, he's going good. 3 goals. I like him. And Harley Reid, best player. Heard a really good interview with Harley Reid on last week. He's quite the character, that fella.
Yeah, and there was a kid and it took me a while to figure out that he wasn't Paul Curtis's twin brother. But watching the game last night, a kid by the name of Cooper Trembath, who's only played 4 games so far in
Right.
his footy career, just looked dynamic as a small forward. And he's actually bigger than he's 193 centimeters, so he's bigger than I thought he was. But he looked really solid last night, and we'll see if that carries over into another week going forward. Because Port Adelaide has brought Todd Marshall back in to play defense, so he's learning basically a new position there this year. So they moved him out of the forward structure. So of those games of all 7 games we mentioned there, which one is your lock? Which is the one that if somebody said to you, you got to bet your nest egg on this game. And folks, don't do this, okay? This is purely for entertainment purposes only. Which is the one that you are positive is going to turn out the way that you think it's going to turn out?
I'd probably say the Suns. They've been better in Melbourne recently.
Yeah,
So I'll go the Suns, and they're one of my best bets against the spread. The Suns,
yeah.
I think the Giants not minus 11.5 and the Dockers minus 19.5. I'll go for those as my best three against the
Okay.
spread. But for people that do bet AFL, spread is very, very tricky. So I suggest do 2 or 3 games a week only on the spread. No way do all 9 games because
Yeah.
you'll be an that's for guys like Morency, the addicts, right? And we're not that.
Yes, I'm a different kind of addict. It's I'm a coffee addict. But so which is the one you think could be the biggest upset though? Which is the one that you think could be the game that you could absolutely see it going opposite of maybe what we have tipped.
I haven't thought about this. I reckon the Eagles are a chance at home.
Okay.
And I think if the Bombers get some players back, they're a chance against the
That's
Pap
that's who I was thinking. That's who I was thinking.
Yeah,
Yep.
some other close games,
Yeah.
Swans and Hawks, Dogs and
Yep.
Crows. They're close games. So there's the
Yep.
couple.
All righty. So, we're going to talk about MyKAussie.tv and Edmonton Cricket TV here in just a moment. But if you're new to the podcast, one of the things that Myk and I started a couple of years ago, because I have not been to Australia yet. I'm going to be there in July of this year for a month. Myk is born and bred in South Australia. As he said at the beginning, he is the pride of South Australia. But he's lived here in North America for about at least 25 years, correct?
More than that, since
Okay.
98.
So we have to make sure that he still qualifies as being Australian. So we like to throw at him a few Australian slang terms to see how he does on these. Okay, so the first one that I have for you this week is, what does it mean to have a Barney?
A Barney
Uh-huh.
would be to get really mad, isn't it?
I'm going to give you credit for that. It says, what I found, to have a disagreement or a fight. I'm going to give you credit for
Yes,
that.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Sorry. Yeah, I'm slightly wrong there. Yeah.
Okay.
Getting mad after a fight. There we
Yep.
go.
All right. What is a hoon? Hoon. A hoon.
Hoon is a bit of a rebel, bit of a rat bag, bit of a nutcase.
Okay. And the term they used was larrikin, but yeah, that's but then they also specified it as somebody who, it's often used for people who drive too fast in a dangerous manner. And I was going to ask you if you encounter many of those types of people in Edmonton.
Yeah. Mate, they're worse in Calgary. They get their big 4x4s and they think they're crazy on the highways. Yes, and here I think they think they're NASCAR drivers, some of
Yeah.
these guys on the freeways.
Okay, so you are 2 for 2 so far. We're starting out well this year. Now, this phrase makes a lot of sense. If somebody says to you something, says this line to you, what do they mean? If they tell you it's a boomerang, it's a boomerang.
It's a boomerang.
Yeah.
The only time I've heard that is if actually someone's showing me a boomerang. So
Okay.
I
No.
actually don't know that one.
Okay. So, what I found online as I was looking here is it says it's used in reference to loaning out an item to someone, where you tell a person, yes, you can borrow my lawnmower, but it's a boomerang. I'm expecting it to come back. Okay.
Oh, mate, yeah, that makes sense. But no, I haven't heard that one. But that's a good one.
Okay.
That is a good one.
Yeah. So, yeah, and maybe that's not one that's, that's, I search online for these things. So maybe that one is one that somebody just put up on their website that, because they thought, okay, boomerang is a word that's associated with Australia. If you've never heard that one before, let us know, because we won't we won't go into that one again. So what about the term up yourself? Up yourself.
Get stuffed. Go and get stuffed.
That you're stuck up,
Or
you're arrogant.
hang on, or up yourself as you think you're better than you are.
Exactly. Yep. You're arrogant, you're stuck up. You believe that there is no fragrance emanating from your bodily wastes. For those of you that don't know, your shit don't stink.
Yes. Maybe we talked about this before, but Nathan Buckley, who I met in Vegas, terrific fella.
Mhm.
I respect Nathan. He seems like a good guy, but when he was younger, his nickname was FIGJAM. You know what it means?
Well, I know that I know what jam is, and I've never seen jam made out of figs before, but
All right, FIGJAM.
okay.
Fuck, I'm good. Just ask me. You haven't heard that before?
Never heard that one before.
Yeah, that was his. That was
I
his
have
nickname
never
when he
heard
was
that one
younger.
before.
Yeah, that was his
Well,
nickname when he's younger, but terrific fella. I'm sure
God,
he's matured since
damn.
then.
I'm gonna have to trade in my Geelong license plates for that one. I like that even better. Maybe than God.
That's a good one, eh?
That is. Oh, I like that one.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could get away with actually asking my students that one. Hey, what do you think you are, FIGJAM? Boy, I'll be unemployed very quickly. But I'm at the point now where I have enough sick days to cover like 71% of the few days that I have left to teach before I retire.
Yeah.
So, okay, the last one. What is a flat chat? A flat chat.
A flat what?
Flat chat, CHAT, flat chat.
Oh, it'd be a boring conversation, wouldn't it?
Could be, but what I found was it said when someone is extremely busy,
A flat chat.
flat chat. So we're gonna go ahead and
Never
cross
heard of
that
that
one
one.
off. That one sucks. We're never gonna use that one again. So I'm never gonna go to back to that website again where I found that one, but because that one was terrible. Okay, well, Mick, hey, before we head out, sir, for those people who have not been to the podcast before and have not maybe run across Myk Aussie, tell us a little bit about Myk Aussie and what you got going on and where they can find you, sir.
All right, well, MyKAussie.tv. Keep that updated. Instagram, I'm in this competition at the moment. One video a day for 30 days, as long as you tag Stan Dare to Post, the company Stan I've been looking at for a while. And if you post one video a day for 30 days, you share in the prize money of $100,000.
Outstanding.
But I'm not doing it for the money because I think there's probably like 10,000 will get through.
Yeah.
So I did it to learn and update my skills on editing and Instagram and getting the hook in. So done lots of 90-second videos,
Mm-hmm.
and the last week they're just about all AFL related. So check that out on
Yes,
my
sir.
Instagram or Facebook, and not Twitter X because I've been hacked bad.
Yes, you
So
have.
there
So
we go.
I'm going to add your I'm going to add your Instagram link into my links because I copied your links from a previous set of notes we had here, and it still had your Twitter one. So your Myk Aussie has disappeared. Are you going to are you going to become a phoenix on X and return and try to rebuild that?
Look, I will, but to be honest, I haven't missed it. The amount of time I wasted on that and
Yeah,
gained some followers, but it's the type of thing where you instantly just tweet, 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 and what's it really get me?
Rockin'
And
Robin.
then it was all about so much crap on my feed. So, no, I'll go back on it, but I got to re-email them and but the guy's overtaken that email address with X, so I haven't heard back from. How's that? The richest man in the world, Elon Musk, doesn't even have a bloody secretary that I can call. That's what pisses me off.
Well, yeah, and he is soon to be what are they saying that he's soon to be a trillionaire?
Oh.
Yeah. Brother, can you spare a dime, right? Um, well, hey, before we head out there, sir, any last tidbits that you want to toss out?
No, but next week I might mention something that's pissed me off nearly as much as the Isaac Rankin versus the dobbing, swooping bastards. So it really got to me. It
I know
got
it
to
did.
me
I know it
so
did.
bad. And a lot of people in Adelaide agree with me. So smarten up, Melbourne, and smarten up the wokeness of that city right now. You'll have a good time. A lot of good people, obviously, but man, they got to smarten up some of the things that they so worried about image and oh, you can't say this and you can't say that. It's pathetic. And they
Well,
look for any story in the media, they will blow it up out of proportion worse than anyone in the world except for London, England.
well, London has become very interesting as well. That is true. That is very true. Yes, yes. Well, hey, mate, it has been great chatting with you, and we're going to be introducing some new ideas, some new little segments on the podcast as you're on with me. Um, because you have some great insight and you're passionate about the game, and you getting fired up about stuff is to me a lot of fun, and it's a great cardio workout for you as well.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to get in trouble or sued, and
Right, right.
I really hope you get some media passes when you go to Melbourne this year because you
Fingers
deserve
crossed.
them.
Fingers
And I
crossed.
think
Yeah,
your mate Fish Whiting, I reckon he might help you. He seems
yeah.
like a
We're
good lad. All right, see you later,
okay.
man.
All right. Cheers. All right, so there's our tips for round two. You'll have to let us know what you think. And again, I will have all of Mick's links in the show notes. Give him a follow. He does a fantastic job, a huge advocate for sport all over the world. the AFL, the Canadian Football League, cricket throughout Canada, as well as the NFL. Just does a bang up job with that and is absolutely tireless when he's working on those things. So give him a follow if you haven't done so already. And folks, if you haven't heard on some of the earlier episodes, I'm looking to get some local footy clubs. If you've got an idea for a shout out, anything that you'd like to have shared about your club, I'd love to hear from you on that. So shoot me a note on any of my social media sites there. You can also head over to ayankonthefooty.com. All of those are linked there, so you can go ahead and subscribe to the podcast so that when a new episode comes out, it goes onto your email as quickly as it's available. And also, if you want to help out the podcast, leave me a review would be a huge help. Tell your friends about it. Share the podcast with your friends and tell them about this crazy Yank that loves your game and is so appreciative that you've shared it with me. If you can also click on that Buy Me a Coffee button and help leave the lights on as well. And if you haven't checked out the preview episodes for this year, you've got all 18 of them. There's a blog post on my website that has all 18 of them listed. They're also listed as independent episodes as well. And if you got a burning question or a funny question that you'd like Myk and I to address, drop me a note at ayankonthefooty@gmail.com or on my socials. I'd love to hear from you. And also, if you're a North American fan, I would love to hear your take on the game. If you're just discovering it, would love for you to come on and chat and share what you have learned about the game at this point in time. And I enjoy helping new fans of the game discover it and help to fall in love with it as well. So again, folks, get subscribed to ayankonthefooty.com. Do me a favor if you would. Check up on your friends. Make sure that they're okay. If you need to talk to somebody, those numbers are in the show notes of every single episode of this podcast. And please don't hesitate to talk to somebody if you need to do so. The world's a much, much better place with you in it. And check up on those friends, okay? And I appreciate the kind words from everybody. And as always, may your dribble kick never hit the post. I'll catch you later. Give us some feedback. Let us know what you think about the new things that we covered here today. We're going to go forward and add a few new things in as well. And Myk's going to be with me as often as he can. As you know, I'm going to be in Australia a little bit later this year. So there may be an instance where I'm actually sitting down with somebody there to help preview a round. That would be a lot of fun to do that as well. So, I'm Craig Wessels, a Yank on the Footy, and I'd love to hear from you. And this has been episode 451. Give me a follow on all those socials, ayankonthefooty.com, @Yank_on over on X. And until next time, everybody, cheers and goodbye.